is George. I'm a designer here at Mindera, and I'm going to talk about things that happen between the design and development. It's mostly about the process, but I have a spoiler already that is introducing the prototype as a handoff tool. What I'm doing here at Mindera, even though I'm a designer, and designer also is mostly looked at a person to make pretty things, but I found this definition online, and which I think it fits perfectly with what I do. That is a bit of everything in the process of between the design and the delivery of the actual product. So I enter into the interaction design, the actual visual design, make things, the visual composition of things, or even the user experience and the information architecture of the app or the website. And I also worked on prototypes. Because of this, trying to put my hands on a lot of steps in the process, I found myself with a problem with the actual process. So I think it's broken. And just a disclaimer: this doesn't apply to every project or every methodology or when you work on a product. But from my experience, I think there's some missing steps. So this would be the usual process that at least I noticed that it's common. We go into the ideation as designers. We do the sketching, wireframes, concepts, with just exploring the ideas. And when that's finalized, we go into the visual design, where we make the mock-ups, make the graphic design, basically. And then we create a set of specifications, like some call it red lines, but it's just measurements of where does the logo go, or where does this UI element goes, as well as the colors that are being used, so the developers can use the correct colors, as well as the icons, the fonts, the actual images, like banners or something. And then we wrap this all up in a package, and we just send it to development and hope it's going to be well implemented. But then, following this, and from my experience, this happens. We start getting this kind of questions from the developers. What if the name or the title doesn't fit this area that you as designer designed it? And so other times it's just related to the interaction. There's a button, but what happens if I hover the mouse on the button, or if I press it longer, something like this? And also, some developers ask if this will animate. The designer says yes, of course it's going to animate. Designers really like things to animate. I'm speaking from the designer side, but of course the animation has an important role in the experience when with the end customer. The things feel more there's more emotion when using a product if there's some kind of clues when the things go. That's why we liked animations. Then there's this popular saying that designers should code, and I already scratched it, because even though I think everyone should know a bit of code, designers doesn't have to know how to code, but it's also helpful to know it, and that's why I'm switching to designers should prototype. And by prototyping, designers kind of have a feeling of what exactly is going to be implemented by developers, and that's why I add a subtitle saying at least to understand the difference between the static mock-up that you just designed and understand that it's going to be dynamic and things are going to change in it. Things that you don't even know yet because information is dynamic. So that's why my suggestion would be to just introduce this step on the process. And there's a lot of improvements that come with it. So basically, when you create prototypes, you get to user test even before it goes to development. So you find flaws, even though it looks perfect, but okay, just in your mind. But when you test with real users, or even just your team, you notice that some things missing. There's a really good point that I like when I prototype is the having development validation. And with this, what I want to say with this is, when I show it to the developer, he says, this is going to take really long time to do, or there's no way I can do this in development in this time frame. So by prototyping, I'm already hearing that before concluding my designs. As well, animations, we can specify the exact values of the animations, so the developer knows exactly what he has to do regarding that. And also, we can, by using prototypes, we can feed our prototypes with real content that's going to be used, if we have it, that's going to use in the real product. So we already see the constraints of using the real content, like I was saying before, as well as make things scale nicely. I just noticed that it's only 6 minutes. I thought it was going to take longer. I didn't prepare the talk, sorry. So maybe I should just show some things that I've been doing to explain this, how I introduced this step in the process. And it shows as an improvement on the process. So, for example, let me get an example here. I was working on this app. So the project was to design an Android version of an iOS app that already exists in the market, and in other things like changing the visuals to match the Android experience, we were also tasked to try to improve wherever we could. And there was this particular scenario where, some context, this is just an app to invest in companies or in products. They create a pitch to talk about the product, and if you see interest, you can invest money and then get equity. I'm sorry, equity depending on what you invested. So they have this interface on the app where we could choose a range of values to invest, and it shows you two kinds of information regarding the share type that you get by investing in this company. So as you scroll, you had to scroll this little dot to change the value and see exactly what changes in these cards regarding the value that you're investing. You could also click on the input field with the value and change it by yourself, and then see what changed. It's on this range between that 10 and 200. Okay, yeah. I think you got an idea that you have to scroll to see the available options. So I found this could be at least fixed in a different way. So I could, instead of just saying my idea to the developers, and in this case to the client, which I didn't talk, but is also helpful not just for developers, but to have as a conversation method with the client. Instead of trying to explain with drawings and clickable prototypes, I created a version that I thought that could help with this. Oops. And by that I'm using Framer, which I can, because I have time, I can talk about it. My idea was to create blocks with every option that the customer can choose, as well as the actual input where it can tell the value that it wants to invest. But this, you could get an idea because this card is hidden. So I have to do something to see the other cards, but at least I see more than just the one in the iOS app. And by doing this, I could create an interactive prototype. And right now it's running on the browser, so I can send the link to the developers or the client. But you can also open this on your phone and actually interact with it, so you get a feel of it. As well, I could change the values. It doesn't work on the browser, but if you have the phone, it will work. But this is just to get an idea of, with a prototype, I can show a lot more than just a static explanation of what it could be. This helped not only the client to understand, but the developers. I don't have the finished product, but the developers implemented it exactly like this. So they had something to see and compare with what they were developing, instead of what usually happens is that they develop something, they show to the designer, and the designer says, that's not very good, you should do more this way or that way. If they had something ready, it's just looking and copying. This is one of the advantages. There's another one I could show, which is a bit more complex. But okay, so this is another project for horse racing betting, where there's a lot of iterations before the product goes to development, and prototype is helping with that. In this case, what I'm trying to show, which is not exactly this. Okay, so this is the current site. It's live. You can access it. And a bit of context, it's a racetrack. Each racetrack has different races and horses racing on that track and that race. This is being fed, like Fernando said in the first talk, through GraphQL, or I'm a designer. I'm not sure if this makes sense, but this is what I understand. There's a file, a JSON file with all the data that is going to show on this page. So if the data exists in this format, I can use it on my prototypes. That's what I did. So in this case, I'll try to show that you can see the same information. We have 10 races. You have 8 horses, and notice the names. And when I go to the prototype, I have the same 10 races, same name, same horses. And as you see, it's a completely different interface because we're trying to redesign it. But with this prototype, because I forgot this little important detail, the main target users of this product are around 60 years of age, people in America, mainly men, which bet on horse racing. And they, as old people, we are accustomed to know that they don't like change. So if they see that the product changes too much from one day to the other, it's going to be bad for the business because they stop using the product. So it's very helpful to have an actual working product that's not yet delivered or developed, so the users can try it and have feedback from them because they are going to use it. And yeah, so I could show a little bit more. So if you want to bet on this horse, you have to click. I have to be logged in. Sorry. You have to click, and you get a new window with the bet ticket, and then you confirm the bet. And we are trying to do something more inclusive within the page where you select the horse, you get the bet ticket within the page without having to open pop-up windows, and you could confirm the bet right in the page and get on with what we were doing before. I hope you guys understood it. I think I was quite fast. But that's pretty much it. Maybe you could ask some questions if you have. If there's no questions, okay.
What do you think are the main challenges of prototyping?
Yeah, so one of the challenges is having to, at least with this software that I was trying to show, is learning a bit of code. So I'm still a designer. I don't know programming, but this software made me learn a little bit, enough to create this kind of prototypes. So I cannot develop something in production ready, but I can do something to show how it could be. So the main challenge is to be open to learn this difficult thing that is programming, and this is the main challenge. And the other one is the resistance from some people who say that this takes a lot of time. And yeah, like everything, if you want to do something good, you have to invest on it. And one of the things I invested is time learning how to do this faster, so I can apply it on my next project.
From your experience, how easy or difficult it is to sell that this is a good investment for the business, to spend more time prototyping instead of giving mockups easily and quickly?
So here at Mindera wasn't difficult because we are open to new possibilities. So after explaining what I did, it was welcomed, and was the outcome was understood, and so it was easy. But in the past, it was really hard to, without having the actual prototypes done, to explain the benefits. So that's why I'm trying to do this kind of talk, to open the discussion to maybe this is helpful, maybe you should try it, and that's pretty much it. I hope I answered.
George, I wanted to ask you one question. How much time do you normally spend building a working prototype?
Yeah, so by the way, I have this one open. This one it took me a long time. Not this one, sorry, the other one. This one takes a lot of time because I started as a single task. My task is going to be creating a prototype that's going to be as high fidelity as I can. So this takes a lot of time. But this one's like this one that I was showing. This one was like 2 hours or 3 hours I took, which helped a lot of, which saved me a lot of time and go back and forth with the developer. Not that I don't like to talk with developers, but I like the fact that I don't have to, but I like to talk with developers, of course.
I think it's really useful to show to the client and for everyone involved to understand exactly what they're talking about.
Yeah, this is my best example because this is way out of the idea of the client, but because it saw it working, okay, cool, let's do it. If it wasn't working, it might have some resistance. With which this client had, because we tried to propose some things that were different from iOS to apply on Android, and were some resistant. But after having something working in their hands,
It was all.
well, good. Yeah. Question?
Sorry, I didn't saw the beginning of the talk, so I'm not sure if you covered that. On the other one that you did from TVG? Yeah, so you just wanted to prototype a little bit, right? So just from what I understood, instead of a window, right?
No, that actually was a lot of more things, like selecting the bed type. Different bed type has different betting options.
Okay.
And
did you have to build everything, or were you able to leverage the code that exists? Because some of this already exists, right?
At the time I did this, there was no code ready, so I did it from scratch. The good thing, I don't use it, but with this software, you can pick design that you did on a software design or Photoshop or Sketch, and import it here, and have like, this is an image, this is an image, this is an image. So you have full control of every graphic element and create interactions for it. So you don't have to waste time recreating the interface.
I was thinking more the other way around. So if you could pick up a website that already exists, import that, and then do the changes you want.
Yeah, sometimes I do that if I want to specifically create a new interaction of something that already exists. But this is running, by the way, running CoffeeScript. It's not JavaScript. It's JavaScript, but it's
Transpile JavaScript.
Exactly. So it's easy for me as a designer to understand, because there are no missing commas and missing brackets, because when I try to do some JavaScript.
There are, you just don't see them.
Yeah, there are, exactly. There are not in the interface, so it's easy for me to not forget about them. Yeah, so basically, because it's CoffeeScript, I just go to Google and how to do this in CoffeeScript, and Stack Overflow fills me with a lot of options. I don't have to actually learn to do it, because I can pick examples from and then produce something that's working. But answering your question, was not only this interaction, but this left hand navigation was changing, so we prototyped it here to see how it would look. And then also we wanted to see the video in a bigger video, which you see doesn't work. I cannot pause it, but yeah, the idea is we wanted to see how the page would look even before it's going to be developed or implemented. I have, just because there's time, I have another prototype I did just for fun. There was manipulating SVGs. So there's this thing about animation, like I said before, and I wanted to manipulate this smiley face. So I just used the existing library for JavaScript to manipulate SVGs, and I told him the start position and the end position, and then I can control the middle steps easily just by scrolling. And this took me like 2 hours or something. And yeah, that's it. Hope you guys liked it.